he is holding back. It is that we are unable to receive. And yet one day Baba said, these doors will be from wide open. And that flood is something that, ready or not, is going to come. So, Baba explained that once, how in the receiving and the giving of that moment, there has to be, as I said, a distraction. That's why you would have the garland on. And there's some other point, skipped my mind.
About Duncan?
No. No, this was just a point of what, oh yes, then we're talking about the receiving and Baba would sometimes talk. Baba would sometimes touch the subject of love, of divine love, and give us only an idea, because when we haven't experienced that love, we haven't even got an idea of it, as Baba would say. So how does he describe, like how do you describe even a headache to a person unless it's had it? You can't describe it. So Baba would give us this comparison. And he said, when he was speaking of divine love, he said the highest of human love, even of Layla and Majnun, which was such height of human love that it touched the divine. When Majnun saw Layla, wherever he looked, he could see nothing else. So even that love, Baba said, is like an ant bite compared to divine love, which is a scorpion bite. And of course, I realize that very well because I'm very allergic to scorpion, and the bite that I've had, it's just, you think of nothing matters, but nothing exists. It's just the pain, just that agony. So that agony of divine love, but there's the ecstasy with it, but the comparison that he would give. So even Layla Majnun's love could be called having just a breath, just a breeze of that love. Like the souls who are on the path are masks and all the different variations Baba has explained. But there are some who are bowled over, overwhelmed, because they've simply had a breeze, a breath of that. Like you get it from the ocean. You have not even gone near the ocean. You have not dipped even your toes in the ocean, let alone drown in the ocean. But you get that wave. And I remember there were some mosques in Pune when I was home, before I joined Baba for good, when I was schooling at the Convent of Jesus and Mary, the Catholic school, and I would come to Baba for all my holidays. There were certain people, personalities, individuals, whom I did not know were mosques or what they were, but whom I asked about later, and Baba explained. So there was one man I remember. He would just mutter to himself very fast, even for an Indian language, very fast. And he would smoke a bidi. He had on a face cap. It was tiny, dark, and so he would smoke a bidi only a little way. And then that smoking bidi he would put in his hat. He would remove his hat, that face cap. He would remove the cap, put that burning bidi in it, put it back on his head, and go back to the door. And of course the children thought they were mad. Baba, when I asked him, said he was not a must, but he had hawa, means breeze, breath of the path. Even that is like a typhoon, where one's whole being is concerned. That reminds me, there was one which I did not know was a must. There was a lady, a Jewish lady, very handsome, very big. She was past middle age, but she was beautiful. And very fair complexion, like most of the Jewish women we have known in Pune, and flashing eyes, but big, not fat, but she was big, this way and this way. And she had this voluminous skirt on, and she had many kinds of scarves over her, maybe 7, maybe we didn't count, and a lot of steel bangles. that jingle, steel, pieces of steel and steel bangles, which we learned later is like an ittifaqi mast. And then there was a lady, a Hindu woman, who was at the end of the long lane from our alley, a Baba house in Pune, and she wore 7 saris. And I didn't know the significance of that till years later when Baba came with Eruch once, and Baba contacted that woman, and he said she was a must, which is when we came to know she was a must. And there was another one, he was the most interesting because he attracted me. I don't know why. He never spoke a word, he just stood there and he would look at you. When they look at you and they're in rags, they look as if they have nothing, but at the same moment the impression is that he's a king. Or he owns all that, what he surveys. And yet there's a complete detachment that, it doesn't matter, nothing of this matters. But he would bend down on his knees and drink dirty water from the gutter that flowed just opposite the alley there. And I would watch that. And it bothered me a lot because I'm very fond of water. I've always been, to drink. Everybody must have a drink of water. Nobody must be thirsty. Maybe something from the past, I don't know. So I saw him, horrified. And I touched him and I said, wait, don't do that. I'll get you a pitcher of water. So I brought this brass pot of water. And he looked up at me. And I said, put your hand out. And he kept looking at me. And then he put his hands out. And I poured. He just had a little, threw the rest away, and just looked. So I went back. When I came back, he was on his knees, drinking water from the gutter. And I believe Baba said, no, Eruch, that is also a particular kind of mask.
Yeah.
But what happened was that sometimes my mother would not be home when I had returned from school for lunch. But she was a very practical and a thorough person, so the table would be laid, the food would be on a low fire so that it would be warm and just the right heat, so I could come and help myself and serve myself on those occasions. But sometimes when I would sit, when I was eating and mother was away, there would come a call from the entrance. The door was closed, but someone would be calling. So I would go out and find it was a beggar. So I'd tell them to wait. I'd go back and bring the remainder of the food, and they would have a bowl or something, so I'd put it in their bowl. This happened a few times, and I remember mother remarking, oh, you like that dish, huh? Because you had a good appetite today. I wouldn't say anything. I'm telling you this for one reason, that one day when that call came, when I had bye or something, but this was just a noise, just a voice. I couldn't place it. I said, I'll go and see. Maybe somebody's calling for mother. And there was that mask, the one who used to drink water from the gutter. And he just stood there, and I looked at him. He didn't say anything, no movement, no word, no gesture. He just looked, and I looked back, and I said, wait. So I went and got my plate. I just started eating, so I got my plate of food, and I said, where's your bowl? He just looked. I said, Kylie, something that I put this in? He just looked. And what drew me to do this, I don't know, but I gave him the food, plate and all. And I rushed him. After doing that, I got scared. What will mother say? Plate? So when I went back, he wasn't there. I never knew what happened. And I saw mother coming in, so I raced back to school. In the evening, of course, mother was saying, where? Mommy, what happened to the plate? How should I know what happened to the plate? But you ate, didn't you? Sure I did. I ate. I always do. But then where did you put the plate? What do you mean, where did I put the plate? I'd leave it on the table. But did you leave it on the table? Of course I left it on the table. I mean, there was a big thing about that. Where is the plate? Who has stolen it? Of course, she knew I was guilty about it. But him I asked about Baba. I asked Baba about this man. I didn't know he was a Muslim. But I knew something drew me to him to do these things. And I asked Baba, I told Baba about this man. He's a Muslim. I mean, good one. Good one. I think Baba contacted me later.
And you were never afraid of him?
No, I wasn't afraid. Indians are used to having such personalities on the road, even if you don't know their masks, you let them be. But there are those that know, and they usually have people around them. And like Baba Jan, even in the beginning. And so there's something that draws this around them, like the moths are drawn to the flame. Yes, and that is another thing with Baba, because in most of the ghazals, the love songs to the beloved, they give you the illustration of the moth and the flame. And the moth just goes to the flame not for anything. It is not going to receive anything from the flame. It is simply there to consume itself, to give itself up. The moth just wants to that love for the flame, and he just goes again and again just to consume himself. And Baba says, love is like that, not for anything to get, but simply not to be. Just when that is the way it is with the beloved and the lover, which is a long way to go, huh? But he's so compassionate. He helps. He knows.
Did you ever tell your mother about the plate?
No. I could stick to a lie better than anybody. And, even if I'd been caught red-handed, I would have said, no, I didn't do that. No, I never did. Though she guessed, she knew. And because I would hear her tell others about it. And I think she also guessed where some of the food in the earlier times went, even though the plates were there. But there is something, just like, a mad person by their eyes. Not every time, mind you. We have known the masters and must because Baba has told us. We have had no concern with them, even now. It's only these stories are connected with Baba, which is why they are of importance or significance. Not in themselves. But that time when we were in Banaras with Baba, and we were sitting on the ghats, these miles of steps that lead to the water, and a flash of humanity, very colorful, and rhythmic, but very active. Each one doing their thing. Nobody minds the other. That's extraordinary where a Hindu congregation offers pilgrimages. Some are bathing, some are washing their clothes, some are praying, chanting, bells are ringing, some are eating, some are sleeping. Each one, does his thing or her thing in relation to their purpose. And so we were seated among this huge crowd of mass of humanity, very colorful, and each one doing something and all. And Baba was seated amongst us on those steps of those. So we were looking around. Oh, it was so nice. Look at this colorful saris, and here they're doing this and this. And suddenly, my eye meets a particular person who has neither color nor movement. He's a drop of stillness in that ocean of color and movement. And he's just sitting there, and he's facing this way, so I meet his eyes. And he's the color of earth. He's got, nice curly hair. He's young and barely covered, and he's still as anything. Could be a statue, and he was just looking. And I looked at him, and I'm something so impressive. It puts all this color and sound and movement to shame. This drop. And I look at him, and his eyes. So I tell myself, is he a must? I wonder, it must be a must. Surely he's a must, is he? So where do I turn my head? Naturally to the source, the one who knows. So I turn my gaze to look at Baba, and I find he's turned his head and already looking at me. So when Baba's and my eyes meet, all Baba does is nod, to say, yes, he's a must.
Did you ladies ever get to see the must that Baba brought in the business of Chatti Baba?
Oh yes. Oh, Chatti Baba. Even Baba would take us to show them. Baba was so happy when he was with his master. And we were in Quetta, where it's very, very cold. Ooh, it was so cold that water was like ice. Of course, we didn't have hot water taps and things, no facilities. And we were in this place where drafts would come in from every door, every window. It was freezing and shivery. And early in the morning when Baba came over, he said, very happy, very active, like a streak of sun. And he comes and says, come here, come and see this. So we all go with him, shivering, very excited. And there in the middle of the courtyard is seated Chatti Baba, the master, Chatti Baba. Chatti Baba is seated like this. And with the beard and the hair, barely anything here, but he has his lungi, smiling and happy within himself. And there's a pail of water, cold water that's been out all night, and he's pouring water over himself with that knife, And all that cold water goes over him, and that cold wind is probably freezing him, and he's happy. And Baba says, see? He doesn't feel the cold. He doesn't feel this. And we say, yes, Baba, it's just so lovely. Also, that's the time I remember very well because Baba was fasting for some time there. And Baba was not so fond of fruits, especially tart fruits. And the most mangoes he would love, bananas, sometimes some other fruit, but no inclination towards fruit. And in Quetta, there in the north, we had all English fruits, what we call English fruit, like peaches, pears, plums, all beautiful fruit, enormous things. And Baba, who didn't care so much for fruits, was fasting there in that cold climate when he felt like eating hot rice and dal and soup and things on fruit and peach, just one big peach for lunch. And it was so cold, that beautiful peach had little dewdrops of ice on it, as it were, in a fuzz. And so Mehera would warm it on a coal fire just to make it less cold so you can eat it, And we would then, how could we enjoy that nice hot food that we ate, knowing Baba was having a cold peach? And I said, that's very tricky of Baba. He spoiled our meals completely. You didn't even taste when you were eating. So for some time, Baba had that. Those moments were very difficult for us. When you knew that he was taking something on for our sakes, for his creation's sake. And he bound himself at each stage. First he imprisoned his voice, as my mother would say. He bound himself by not talking. Then he bound himself by not writing. Then not reading. Then not walking with all his accidents and things. Not eating with the fasts he would do. Every binding, so that we can be free. Because we cannot bind ourselves even for him, whereas he binds himself for us. And in the end, there was no walking. I mean, we would see how painful it was for Baba even to walk the steps. That everything, all that bind. But that he does it because being perfection, anything he does on our behalf has perfect fruits, perfect results. Because perfection is doing it. Like the new life. He walked the new life, and the results, the fruits are and will be perfect because perfection himself went through the new life for us. Like the prayer, Baba would participate in the prayer. He would stand with hands joined while we all stood around. And one of us, like with the women, I would read the prayer aloud. And Baba would be there with hands joined. With the men, he would do it twice. With the men, Eruch would read aloud, and the others would stand around. And Mehera would say, but Baba, you should sit. You don't have to stand. Because we know God himself was, you. And Baba said, no. He would stand, even with a painful hip. He would stand with joined hands. while we prayed. So he was praying, he was saying the prayers on our behalf. And therefore the result of that is perfect. Because imperfection could not do it to perfection. You could only try, which is what Baba always tells us, try. But he, every act, every gesture, everything that he says, it has to be perfect. Sometimes, when we were so familiar with Baba, when Baba had said something to someone and it didn't happen, and then, there would be a light side of it, and I might giggle, or somebody delighted, laughing with Baba. And then he turned around and said, I'm the only one who never breaks a promise. I'm the only one who does what I say. And that's true. Each time he comes again with the mantle of man, when he comes among us, it's nothing but fulfilling. Each longing concerning him, connected with him, is fulfilled. Each wish, each earned grace, everything. He is here just to give. Therefore, you see, anything that is concerning him, this now that you are, whatever you want for him, he will fulfill. As Baba said, you carry on from where you have left off. When we die, when we're born again, we carry on from where we have left off. So where we are leaving off, what we're doing now is very important. This is the season for it. Like we don't get jasmine flowers anymore. The season is over. But some days ago there were so many, I was tired of picking them up. And I said, no, this is all right. Pluck them. Oh, but there's so many. Because at night also there would be a carpet of jasmine on the floor. And yet in the morning, there it was ready. Ready, just giving. And that's what Baba's doing, even now. But this is the giving time, this is the season, the altaric season. And I'll tell you, everything that Baba does, he does it with material means. He sows something that is visible. He uses the material means to put it through as a channel. Like he had these electric wirings fixed for so long, but then there was to be light. I'm just giving you a very mundane, small, but this is what I want to say. Like Baba, for instance, was told that he must exercise for his hip, for his hands. So when he would be lying down on the bed, and so Mary would remind him, Baba exercises, you've not done it yesterday. And he said, Baba would say. So he would quickly do the leg exercise, and would contract, and then let go, like this, in, out, the muscles would be contracted, in, out, and then very, very fast, 4 or 5 times finished. And then the stomach, in and out, 2 times, that was done. And then he would do the hand exercise, which he would go on and on doing. And while I was seated then, I'd have an amusement in my eyes, sort of, oh look, now this, it just goes on and on doing. And at that time, Baba turned his eyes, and I caught the look in his eyes, and it was so meaningful. So meaningful, sort of, that's what you think, but I'm not telling. But it came to me later, what Baba was doing, lying down, this was the hand exercise, so that your hand, stretches like that. But what Baba was doing as he was lying down, when the hands came in, it was this gesture, in the heart, as if he were taking something from the heart and giving it out. With the fist, and then opening it out his fist, like, dropping, like he would do with the prasad. Take a handful and then drop it in the person's hand, whoever was the receiver. So here you went on and on doing this, giving from the heart, on and on. So after a while I thought, well, the same exercise, and this goes on and on. I just sort of, a little amused. And Baba then turned, and his eyes meet mine. And his has a look That's his time. That's what you think. That's all the spirit that we see, which is just the beginning, the point. And even this is overwhelming for us at times. And I tell Mera, whenever Mera at the end of the arti and of the prayers to Baba, so much from the heart, and we stand silent ground. And we can hear that. You know, Baba's hearing, especially from Mera. And says, Baba, may the whole world glorify you. May all come to love you. May the whole world recognize you, know you. And sometimes I say, Gujarati, it's like, take it easy, Mera, take it easy. Not now, you know, let it go slow because we after you're gone.
Eruch, you had...
I had said a lot about Mera on one tape a few days ago, Rick. And I've told Dara to keep that tape. But there's some more that I thought of later, which I will tell you perhaps Saturday.
Maybe he has it today.
Huh?
Maybe he has it today or some other time?
Yes, Saturday.
What were you saying?
You had asked us to remind you to tell the story of the first English novelist.
Yeah.
Baba would always point at the clock when it's struck. If he was saying something and said, see, it's true what I said. Because the clock struck.
Thank you.
The first, I asked you to remind me. It's about Nelms. I don't know whether you all have heard of him. Heard his name? Who? Nelms.
Gnomes.
We don't know the second name, we don't know his history, nothing of the sort, except that he was the son of a police official in Pune. He was the first Western disciple. But how did he happen to come? He was an Englishman. It never started with the Americans, it started with the English, the Britisher. So what had happened is, the story behind it is this, that Baba had returned from Manzil Amin and he had come to Meherabad. He started staying at Meherabad, where the barracks were at the time being renovated, as I told you, Meherabad. Barracks of the First World War, military barracks. But with him had come those who stayed with him, Manzil Amin. Most of them followed him as far as they came to Ahmednagar, and then Baba kept them. But there were some who were allowed to scatter by Baba's permission and his pleasure. So there was one, Babu by name, an Indian, and he was of Pune. So Baba said that, well, you go back to Pune, join your family, be with your family and do some business, whatever you want, earn something and be there, love me. So he had opened a cycle shop. You know, cycle shop, cycle repairs, not the cycle shop as we call selling new cycles, but hiring old cycles that were there and repairing and all, filling in air and all that sort of thing. So there was a cycle shop there. Tiny little thing, it's still there, mind you, but owned by somebody else now in a corner. So he had a shop there. This person, a Britisher, well, it so happened that one day, naturally he was on cycle. It was the British rule here, you know. So he is coming on a cycle, young man, and it seemed that he needed some air in his wheel, tire. So he stopped at that shop. But coincidentally, it was that shop. And, well, trying to be very meticulous with his work and all that, Babu not only wanted to fill the air, but he wanted to examine the valve. Why is the air leaking out? Or is there any puncture or something like that? So he said, "Sir, please come and sit down." He spoke a few words of English and all that. So he came and sat down on a bench that was there in that tiny corner. When he sat down, first thing that he looked at was a big poster of Baba, picture of Baba, printed, litho print. So he looked at him. That was how he came into contact with Baba for the first time in the shop. And so the work is done, he filled the air and all that, he left. Once again, it seemed that he had to come for some filling in air, but he chose that particular shop because the shopkeeper was good, kind, so he came. And this time he was drawn by the picture. So he came and looked at the picture, it's still there. He began to look and says, "Who is this person? Who is he?" Because he didn't look like the Hindu gods and goddesses that were there, you see. They're rampant in the shops, you know how they are, of Ram and Sita and Shiva and Hanuman and all these sort of things are there. But he looked quite different, so he says, "Who is this?" He says, "He is my master. He is MeherBaba." MeherBaba. So where does he live? Is he here in Pune? He says, "No, he is in Ahmednagar. 5 miles away from Ahmednagar. 5 miles. It's a city?" He says, "No, it's a village, Arangaon village." So then he again went away. Third time he came and he said, "Can I go to him? How can I go? Okay, will you come with me? I'll take you. I'll pay the money for you to take me there." He says, "No, we'll have to ask first permission. Without permission you can't go there." That was one of the things, you see, that Baba always insisted upon. Without his permission nobody can go. So says, "Write to him, say that I want to come." So the letter came back, reply, that tell the person, tell Nelms, his name, he gave his name as Nelms. So tell Nelms that when the time comes, you'll call him. So Nelms would come again and again to the shop, even under any excuse or without excuse, and says, "Any letter from him? Is the call given? Is the call given?" He says, "No." So poor Babu had to write again. Again the reply would be, "Tell him to wait. When I want him, I'll call him. I will call him." Underline will. And again he would show the letter and all that. But it's of no avail. He asks every time, "Can't I go there? Come on, take us." "No, you can't go there." Being a Britisher, naturally, he wanted to. But what happened was, this happened now. This precipitated how Nelms becomes the disciple of MeherBaba. He being a Roman Catholic, there is a church there in Pune. You have seen the church brick between St. Vincent's School and Convent of Mary, Jesus and Mary. So there is a church, you call it. So there is a church. He used to visit that church. So this is eventually we found out at a very late stage. What had happened, he had gone once there to the church, as usual on Sunday. After all the proceedings had taken place and were over and people had dispersed, he still continued to be sitting there. And you know how what do you call them?
Pews?
Yeah, the pews are there, but the benches, sort of a bed, pews. You call them pews?
Pews, kneelers also.
No, but
Kneel.
benching, sitting pews.
Mm-hmm.
But his hands were like this, and he was sitting there. Although all the people, the whole congregation had dispersed, and it was, and after a couple of hours also, he still found sitting there. And actually, there is a janitor who has to take charge of the place. He has to clean the place and all that. He comes and all anything that is lit around there, you see, he picks up and all that. He comes there, he sweeps the place and all that. He dusts the thing. He has seen it's a big hall there, the church, and he sees this solitary person sitting. The time he had come, he is in the same posture. Now he has almost finished the thing. After an hour of that sweeping and all that, he is still in the same posture. So he felt something. He says, what's happened to this person? Is he alive or dead? So he goes there and he shakes him. Nothing is there. So he runs to the priests over there, you see, the padri, and he calls. He says, there's a man sitting there like that and we don't know. He doesn't move. So they come and they shake him and all. Nothing is there. So they had to take him to the hospital. Doctors were called or something like that. His pulse was there, but he was unconscious. He was taken to the doctor and all that. And he revived. He came back. And then when he revived, he came back. He naturally continued with his chores, whatever they be, but he never failed to visit the cycle shop. And now tells in imperative tones to Babu that if you are not taking me now, I am going by myself. He says, don't do that. Please, otherwise Baba will be displeased with me because I am the person who gave you the address and all that. Don't you do that. I'll come. Wait, what's the matter? Why are you in a hurry? Wait till he calls you. He says, the call has been given. He says, I haven't received it. I haven't received it. He says, yes, I have received the call. So what is the call? Where is the letter? He says, no, it's not the letter. Then this is what Babu tells us the story. Not now, he told us many years ago. And the story is that while he was in the congregation there, all were absorbed in communion with the Lord. He was also. And his gaze fell on one of the stained glasses there. And out of the stained glass, he says that I really saw Meher Baba there. The same picture that is there, coming out of the bright shining light that is there. And I got so overpowered with the very sight of it. It was so realistic, it's so real, that I just lost my consciousness. And then fell down. And I don't know what happened. I was taken to hospital. So this is the call. I have to go. I can't stand now any longer. So that's how then eventually Babu did take him without permission of Baba. Then when Baba was told about his insistence, so Baba of course forgave, and Nelms insisted on leaving the world and staying with him. And Baba permitted him. At that time, Adi's older brother, Rustam, was in charge of the place. He was managing. So being the first Westerner, naturally he was being pampered. And the hard labor was there at the time. There were no pumping systems, nothing of the sort. Sweeping and cleaning and carrying water up the hill and cleaning the latrines and all that was being done by Mandli people. No servants, nothing of the sort. So he was there. And Baba allowed him to continue to stay there. So once Rustam was very outgoing and outspoken, so he says, hey, Nelms, he says, come on, tell us, what happened to you? How did you come? Who are you? He says, brother, he says, please permit me this privacy. Don't ask me my antecedents. You will not get anything from it. Don't ask me, because there are none. I have left the world. And it's not left the world, I've died to it, and I'm living here now. It's all dead. There's nothing there. So never ask me that. All knew that. Rustam was outspoken, as I told, naturally spread and told all the people never to ask him. So we do not know the full history of who Nelm is, but he was the first Britisher. So Rustam was very fascinated by his dedication and service and humility and real love. He was a young and strong person, Nelms. So he would bring, because they had the shops, called Europe shops, means things would come from Europe. Soap, toiletries, oil, this, that, and they were, in India, then shops would be named as Europe shops, you see, where you get things, articles imported. So he'd bring all these. He saw the Mandli using bar soap, washing soap for their bath and all this. Whatever the Mandli, he told Rustam when he brought the soap, he says, look, do you all use this soap? No, we don't use it. Then why do you make me use it? I have come to live as one amongst you. Allow me to be that. Give me the privilege to live with you all. So that's all right. Well, his wishes were full. Baba himself would ask the women to, in the beginning, send something not too spicy or anything of that sort. Something least palatable at least. But he would refuse. He went to Baba and fell on his knees and begged Baba, Baba, please allow me to live as the Mandali. Accept me as one of them. I said, accepted. So at that time there was no, what you call, patting or the Baba's mood was quite different. If he gave and they accepted, well and good. If he said, no, I would live the life there, so okay. Nothing to pamper or say, no, take care of your health, see whether you are all right, this, and nothing of that sort. He was not a father at the time. He was the real friend at the time. So then Nelms lived as one of the Mandali. Days are passing by and he wants work and all that. So he approaches Baba for work. So Baba asks somebody, who was the manager, Pendu, Padri and others, you see, and Rustam, says, give him some work. He wants to do some work. So he was given some work. So he once approached Baba and says, I would want to do the hardest work that is here, to serve you. Anything that is the most hard, it's hard upon any human being here. And so says, what do you think now? Says, I would love to carry water on my shoulders, the bamboo poles and from the well to draw the water, then fill the cans and carry all the stuff. And at the time, there was a wire, you see, railway tracks. There were two boundary lines were there, steel wires were there, posts were there and all. So they have to cross that. They were like hurdles, you see, you have to cross over it, put your leg and then go there and be on the track and again cross that and then carry all those things up the hill. And so that's how it was. He did that. But while doing it for quite a few months, he developed a sort of a scratch here with his chappals, because water would fall, dust would be there. So the leather rash was there, right? Yeah, it was. Yeah, a sort of a rash was there. Cutting. His skin was delicate naturally. So and rough life and dust would settle. And there was dispensary at the time, the clinic there. So Padri, Pendu was doing that. Padri was there. Sailor Mama was in charge. There were 3 people there. This is, hey, Nelms, why don't you go and show the doctor there? He's there, but get some dressing. Says, no fuss about it. It's nothing, it's just a little scratch that will go out. But it developed into septic focus there. Then he was hospitalized and then in that he died. Baba was there at the time. He came and he died, I think, on Pendu's arm in the night. Early hours of the morning. Early 20s.
Early 20s.
Yeah. Means about 1924, 20.
So we heard Baba speak.
Yeah.
The only Western Mandali who ever did.
I think so. We have to confirm this from Pendu, whether he heard. It must be that, because he's in 24. Pendu ne puchne Nelms kar mari gaya. Was he at the time when Baba was speaking or after? Was he in 25 or 24? So that's how it is. The first Westerner that came lived and died. Now, by the way, nobody knew his belongings were there. His little trunk and a bedding. Now, what to do? So Baba says, give it in the newspaper that a certain Westerner who lived in this ashram died by name of Nelms. Any relatives that are there, they are invited to take away the baggage. There was an inquiry. Being a British collector was there, police officials were Britishers, and there was a lot of inquiry about it. So how did he die? Why was he not taken care of? And so forth. Everything was explained. So then the advertisement was given, a write-up was given in the paper, and somebody did come and collected the luggage, but the person, when he came to collect the luggage, no responsible Baba lover was around at the time. There was one person there in the garage, which is known as Sarosh Motorworks. From there, the things were in the paper, it was given, the address. So the person came and collected and left. Nobody was there to find out, you see. That's how it was. So nobody knows. But some little inkling from Babu, we came to know that he was the son of the police commissioner there at the time.
An English police commissioner?
Yeah, of course. Suchapala.
He came to Baba in 1925 when Baba had already started the science, but he was using slates, not boards.
So it was just missed. He missed.
So that means that no Westerner ever heard Baba speak.
No.
Well, no Western Mandalay, I'm sure.
No Western Mandalay.
Yeah, I'm sure there were Westerners that came in contact with him.
Yeah. There were Westerners, boyfriends and all that at the time, Britishers. So many Britishers were here.
His teachers.
Yeah, his teachers were the priests, were French and American priests and all there. French at least, French and German fathers were there at the time. No American. Americans adopted an isolationist policies at the time, you see. Ma, go and food? You're not going for meal?
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Little break.
The lover of God, and it also shows the statement which beloved Baba had once made, that I am a very jealous beloved who does not like his lovers to go to others. I mean, he is an exclusive beloved, and he wants his lovers to be exclusively for him. And this story illustrates that point. Once Moses was told by Allah that you go to such and such spot and there you will see a true lover of mine. And Moses went to...
We missed this lover of God.
This Glenn's call.
Where did you go?
Because Glenn called me out as though there was some emergency, and there wasn't any emergency at all.
What was the emergency?
Money was teasing him and had taken his shoes. So here he calls me. Such a life for me.
The season is not to beget children, I think. This is not the season for it.
Bring your seed to a dry new hole?
Yeah, it should be. Okay, please.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Moses was once...
No. What did Baba say?
Baba once many a times declared that he is a very jealous beloved, and he had given that example of a man coming home after a very long interval, and he wants to go to his wife as soon as possible. But if he sort of lingers on the way or visits a certain unwanted spots, that is not a true lover like. That was the example which Baba had given. And this story illustrates the point of how a lover suffers and how a beloved very jealously guards his lovers. So once Moses was told by Allah that you go to such and such a spot and there you will see a true lover of mine. And Moses was most keen to see him. After all, a lover of God is no small matter. And he went to that spot and there he really met a man. He was absolutely withered away, just plain skin and bones. Nothing on him, and he was sitting there doing nothing. And Moses approached him and bowed down, and he says, well, I've been told by Allah that you are his chosen one. And he says, yes, Moses, I'm very happy to hear it. And Moses says, could I do any service for you? And he says, yes, I'm feeling thirsty, get me a glass of water. And Moses was too honored to serve him, a lover of God after all. So he went in search of water, and he eventually found the place and brought him a mug full of water. But in the meantime, a lion had come and torn this man to pieces. And Moses was very much upset about this. And then he said, the very least I could do for him is go to the village and bring a shroud and give him a decent burial. So he goes to the village and gets the shroud. In the meantime, the jackals have already eaten him up and all that. And Moses was very much shocked by this sight. And he asked Allah, he says, Allah, how come that you treat your lover like this? And then the answer came, that this man sat in remembrance and in love of me for 40 years. And for 40 years I was standing before him, literally on one foot, to serve him, to complete any of his wish that he had. If he had asked me of a glass of water, I would have given him milk. Literally, I have been standing in front of him for the last 40 years to render service to him. How come today he selected Moses for a glass of water when I am present here? And this was the punishment that he got from me, because I am very jealous of my lovers. This is the story.
Wow.
Then about
the lovers of how
prostitute.
Ah.
That's a good one. I love that. I don't think you have heard this.
in a certain red light district in India.
In Bombay.
In Bombay.
Let's clarify.
Let us pinpoint.
A woman and her lover were sitting there. You know, in India, there's red light districts. The business is conducted down below and the house is up top. Like that. So this woman and her lover were sitting on the veranda of that house, the open space, like
on the
steps of it. And it was a rainy day, and a dervish or a Sufi, intoxicated in love of God, was going by. And because it was a rainy day and the road was not very clean, full of slush and all, as he walked by, a bit of that mud splashed from his feet and landed on the cheeks of that woman. And the lover of that woman got very upset about this, and he got up and he...
Just a minute.
Sorry.
So he was walking.
Yes.
Who was walking?
That Sufi, a dervish, he was going by, and because that road was full of slush and muck, as he was walking by, a bit of it splashed on the cheeks of that woman, one of the cheeks. And her lover was very much upset about this, and he got up and he gave that man a tight slap, saying that, can't you see how you walk, this and that, abused him. This dervish was absolutely lost in God, so he didn't even know what was happening, and he kept walking. Hardly had he gone by, then this woman got the urge to have a betel nut, that nut which we chew in India, and which makes your saliva turn red. So she says, go up to my bedroom and get me. Normal custom is that they keep these nuts prepared. So whenever you feel like having it, you have one, and it is all kept in a box. So the woman told her lover, go up to my bedroom and get me this box of betel nuts. He goes up to their bedroom and collects the box and comes down. And all of a sudden his feet slipped on the staircase and he tumbled down. And as he landed on the last staircase, broke his neck and instantly died. This woman immediately put the two and two together, and she realized what must have happened. So she ran after this dervish and came to him and said, such and such a thing has happened. Now ask Allah to forgive him and revive him again. And the dervish said, that woman, very frankly, I do not even know that accidentally this bit of mud splashed on your cheek. I do not even know that he has slapped me. This is something which is entirely between you, your lover, and God. You must find out the cause of it, not me. And so he walks away. And this woman came home and she cried a lot because of her lover's death. And after being completely exhausted with her sorrow, she fell asleep. And in her dreams, she heard a voice, something like that. And the voice was telling her that for no fault of my lover, your lover slapped him. That mud which was splashed on your cheek was an accidental act. It was no deliberate act on his part. And yet your lover slapped him. Woman, by any chance, do you think your lover is the only one who knows how to punish? That was what she was told by God.
These are rash stories to Western ears.
These are the sizzlers. Follow, where is the real sizzler from K-Quality? No, but I still remember there is another one.
Which one?
That he is seen on the garbage heap. Where is that story?
Is it about that one who is on the garbage heap?
Okay, no, he says, come the next day. I'll tell you,
I'll show you how
I'll show you how to love God.
Was it?
or how the lovers of God are treated.
No, what love for God is. One page, brother. Yeah, this under the title. Now, first of all, let him give the little introduction to Hallaj.
Yes. Mansur Hallaj was a man who was in search of God, and he was very outspoken. He was a contemporary of Junaid, another perfect master of his time. And he studied under Junaid also for quite some time. And because of his outspokenness, once Junaid even told him that a time might come when you will turn the color of the scaffold red with your blood. And Mansur said that when that day comes, Junaid, you will have to don the robe of a worldly magistrate. That was what he had told him. And as Mansur Hallaj advanced on his path and eventually became a perfect master, in one of his ecstasies, mood of ecstasy, he declared himself as Anal Haq. And this matter was brought to the notice of the Caliph of that time.
And the story is there.
And now the story begins.
Mansur al-Hallaj. Fariduddin Attar starts his biographical sketch of this great Saint Mansur with the comment, "What a pity that such a great saint should have been so little understood by his contemporaries. You can revere a tree if the sound Anal Haq, I am the truth, comes out of it. But you hang a human being if he utters the same words. You should know that all such great saints who utter such words in ecstasy are merely speaking through the tongue of the Lord. It is God who is speaking through them. Their self is dead." Shibli remarked that although he and Mansur spoke the same words, he was let off on the ground of madness, but Mansur was hung on the ground that he was in his senses and wise and yet uttered words of heresy. Mansur came to Tustar at the age of 16 and stayed there for 2 years, then proceeded to Doharka, where he stayed for a year and a half in the company of Hadrat Umar bin Uthman Maki. There he married the daughter of Hadrat Yaqub al-Aketa. Hence he proceeded to dwell with Hadrat Junaid at Baghdad for a time. From there he went to Hijaz, where he met a group of Sufis with whom he returned to Hadrat Junaid in Baghdad. And here he put a question to Junaid which resulted in the prophecy by that great saint, that is, "Someday you shall color a wooden piece red," meaning that he shall be hung. On hearing this, Mansur said, "When that will happen, you shall have to give up your Sufi's garb and you shall have to put on the layman's dress." That actually came to pass in due course, for it is well known that when all the religious preceptors were asked to sign the death warrant of Mansur, they hesitated till Hadrat Junaid took the lead. Junaid hesitated when the Caliph told him that until he signed he would not crucify Mansur. Then Junaid discarded the Sufi's garments and put on the lay schoolmaster's dress and signed the warrant in the following words, "I express my opinion on the externals of Mansur, that he is fit to be gibbeted." When Junaid did not answer the question of Mansur and instead gave him the rough scolding which was to have terrible consequences, he was therefore a little disappointed and left him and went to Tustar along with his wife. And there he stayed for a year. The people of the place honored him much. There it was his wont to criticize the religious pretenders who were very much annoyed with him. In their plot against him, they were helped by Hadrat Umar bin Uthman, who wrote insinuating letters to them to harass Mansur. Mansur did not relish such opposition to his views, and he therefore discarded the Sufi's garments and donned the layman's dress. But at the time he was established in a very high spiritual state, which possessed him for full 5 years. He traveled to Sistan, Kirman, and Nimroz in those days, and wrote very illuminating works and discourses, so illuminating that he was styled the master of secret knowledge. From there Mansur proceeded to Basra and again put on the garments of the Sufi. He went to Mecca, and there people styled him a magician. He returned to Basra, and thence proceeded to China by way of India. On his return, he made a second pilgrimage to Mecca, and a great change had taken place in him. His words were replete with esotericism, and few could follow him. So he was turned away from the places he visited and was much tortured. In the days of his intense spiritual state, Mansur lived in one cloak for full 20 years. One day, people forcibly took it off his body. They were surprised that in it a scorpion had made a home, and as they wanted to kill it, Mansur asked them to replace it in the garment as he had befriended him for the last 20 years. Once 4,000 people accompanied him to Kaaba on a pilgrimage. There he stood barefooted and bareheaded for a full year in one spot. A man would come with a loaf and a jug of water for him, but it was only seldom that he took a morsel of it. He was therefore much reduced physically, all his flesh dried and his skin scorched and torn at places. A scorpion had made a home in his garment, and in his prayers offered there he would say, O Lord, ye are the guide of those who are passing through the valley of bewilderment. If I am a heretic, enlarge my heresy. When the people had left and he was alone, he would again pray, I know thee alone, O Lord, and worship none besides thee, and am grateful for the gifts thou hast conferred on me. I am thy slave, and so numerous on me are thy gifts, that with this single tongue I cannot express my gratitude for them. So thank thyself on my behalf. One day Mansur met Hadrat Khawas in the wilderness and asked him what he was doing there. He answered, I am trying to settle in contentment, to be satisfied with whatsoever the Lord does with me in respect to conferring food on me or letting me go without it. And Mansur remarked, How long shall you go on wasting your times over the affairs of your belly? When will you lose yourself in the divine unity, losing your identity in divine consciousness? When people visited him in the jail cell on the first night of his imprisonment, they could not find him in the room. He had bodily disappeared. On the second night of their visit, they found him at a spot, but the jail had disappeared. On the third night, they met him seated in the cell in the jail, and they asked him the reason of this strange experience, and he replied, On the first night I was in the presence of the Lord. On the second night the Lord had come here on a visit to me, and now I have been brought here to verify the words of the Scripture. That is, a man in his senses should never utter, I am the truth. For as long as he is a being, a man, he can never be God. If he utters those words, it is heresy. Mansur used to offer 1,000 obeisances to the Lord every day, after his daily prayers were over. When people asked him, When you yourself are God, to whom do you offer obeisances? He replied, I know my worth very well. There were 300 prisoners in the jail in which Mansur was lodged, and he asked them if they wanted to be released. On getting their reply in the affirmative, he made a sign, and their fetters fell down, and the gates of their cells and of the jail lay wide open. They asked him to accompany them as they left the precincts, but he replied, I have a secret matter with the Lord which shall be revealed when I have been consigned to the scaffold. I am the prisoner of the Lord, who is my master, and I must show respect to his scriptures. In the morning, people saw that all the locks were broken and all the prisoners had fled, and they inquired of Mansur about the incident. So he narrated all that had happened. They asked him why he didn't leave, and he replied, My master is angry with me. He has inflicted punishment on me, and so I am here. When the Caliph learned of the incident, he ordered Mansur to be beheaded immediately, lest he should cause further trouble. He was whipped 300 times, and every time a voice was heard, O Mansur, I do not fear. Bear up with all punishment. 100,000 people had assembled around the gibbet on which he was to be hanged.